Resurrection is now complete. They came back from the dead, had to wait for 3 days to know if they were still in the tournament after finishing as the worst of the third best place finishers. But who would have thought that they would go all the way to lift the trophy? What a night it's going to be in Cote d'Ivoire. What a night in Abidjan as they lift their third ever Afcon trophy. Not only that, but they become the first host nation to win the trophy since Egypt in 2006, and Egypt beat Ivory Coast in that final. So records being broken here in this Afcon of upsets and Afcon of thrills here. And we have been here to witness all of it. Unlucky Greg Etafia, what went wrong for Nigeria having taken the lead in this encounter?
Yeah, you can't be running on luck every time when you have a goal lead in terms of the games. You cannot do it often. And you're playing against the host country, there's going to be a lot of support. I just feel, credit must be given to Ivory Coast coach, the interim coach, Faye. I mean, he's changed a lot of things, And in the Nigerian side today, there's a lot of players that didn't come to the parties, the big players that you expect them, they've been playing well throughout the tournament. But today it wasn't their day, It was not meant to be, but credit must be given to Ivory Coast because they change a lot of things and it works for them.
Well, Coach Ludo, I hope you put money on this game because you said Nigeria score in the first half and you said Ivory Coast come back in the second half, and it's happened just like that.
A lot of the times they tell you stats is just information that you have, but throw it out the window. But not in this tournament. In this tournament, everything that depicted the most important stats to say which teams score in the first half, in the second half, which players have been consistent in doing certain things. Goalkeepers, their stats have been stellar. And also, when you look at the travels, the players that have been outstanding for you, you look at midfielders that were carrying the ball into the final third. Mokoena did it 9 times in this whole tournament. Actually, not him, but Fofana did it 9 times. But there's only 3 of them. There's Lukman, there's Mokoena of South Africa, and Fofana that were doing that, taking the ball from dispossession and taking it into the final third, initiating the attack. And when you don't look at the stats and look at your team to say, how do we play against the stats and then implement what we can do for progression, you'll be in trouble. And I think today, Nigeria could not hold on to the stats of Cote d'Ivoire, which is them coming back from a goal down to go on and win. And the second thing nobody can plan against is heart. Adrenaline on the day and the mindset. You can never plan against that because you don't know which type of Cote d'Ivoire is going to show up. The Cote d'Ivoire that we saw the first day against Guinea-Bissau, the Cote d'Ivoire that lost 4-0 to Equatorial Guinea, the Cote d'Ivoire that won against Senegal is the Cote d'Ivoire that we saw today. Because it's a Cote d'Ivoire that dictated terms. Even when their crowd was quiet at some point, we were like, the crowd is not up there. They're so quiet. But they knew what was their mandate, to make Faye proud. And in my parting shot in this segment right now, I just want to say that Cote d'Ivoire did exactly what Portugal did in 2016 in the Euro. They qualified as the worst third place and went on to win it against France. And you look at how they've done it again today, Cote d'Ivoire. And that's why you are here, Coach Steve Kompela, to put it into words for us, because we don't know how to describe this comeback.
I can't either.
You don't have the words.
How do you deal with a cat with 9 lives? How do you deal with so much agility? How do you deal with so much dexterity from these? These guys were dead. They were dead and buried. But there's one big moral of this story for me. I remember when Jean-Louis Gazette left this team, we said chances are this guy will go on Ufai. He will go on and win this Afcon. Little did we know that the script we were suggesting was actually what was meant to be. It was written in the stars. Now, it talks to circumstances and power. If you put positivity to your circumstances and not allow circumstances to put power on you, you shall come out like this. This guy got the opportunity at the back of the coach being fired, and he said, circumstances are dire. The environment is flaming, but it's not going to overpower me. and he took his power and changed circumstances. This guy's life has changed.
Yeah.
And even himself, when he got appointed in 2022, little did he know that at some point of his life, God shall present this scenario. None of us saw this coming.
And there's no such thing as luck.
None.
Luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
There we go. That's destiny. You can't alter destiny.
Incredibly, Emerson Faye has never coached a club at high level before. This is the first opportunity that he's received, and he's grabbed it with both hands. Surely the next permanent coach now of Cote d'Ivoire, guiding them to a third Afcon title. And they say if you want to eat an elephant, you have to eat it piece by piece. But this one was just too big to be finished. You can never finish this one. Does it then give you signs, because we speak about how he was a former player of Ivory Coast, part of the 2006, part of the team actually that lost in the final to Egypt in 2006. Does it give you some signs, some hints of a Stephen Keishoff and Alou Cisse here? Can you do what Alou Cisse has done with Senegal now? Is he the man to take them forward? I
mean, definitely what Ivory Coast won, they want to win the tournament, and he has done that for them. They have to give him opportunity. He's a homegrown coach, you know, and he's learning his trade, you know, from assistant coach to caretaker coach. Now, definitely you have to give him, because Ivory Coast have already been out of the tournament. They are out, you know, and at the end of the day, he comes and produces something miraculous.
You know, Tabiso, talking of Aliou Cisse, I remember when they played Senegal, something very strange happened. If you remember, they went to penalty kicks. There was a moment where both teams came together.
And Cisse was coaching.
Cisse had his team in his hand like this, because then Pedigree said, I got this. He had no power. Things were up against him. He couldn't even call all of them to come and converge. None of those were in his hand. But through hard work, focus, and ultimately this, when he makes a call tomorrow to say we're meeting at the clubhouse, they're going to arrive ahead of him, because now he's earned respect, he has authority. There are moments in your life where you have it, but you still need to be tested to be trusted. That's where he is.
And I guess, Coach Lulu, that's why they trusted him, because he's been in this situation. He's played an Afcon final. He's been a voice in the dressing room. He knows exactly what it is here. And you could even see him on the touchline. It felt like he was part of the game.
Opportunity must find you ready. Opportunity must find you ready. If it doesn't, you're going to fluff it. You're going to give it away. You will not even be able to handle it. It will swallow you. When he was given this opportunity to head this team, he turned 40. And they had just come from a 4-0 loss against
man.
Now imagine, you've never coached a club, you've never done all of that, you come in there, and they say to you, we believe in you. Against a team that is star-studded, with experience, with players that, Abokesi and all of that, when you speak to them, you must speak to them man to man. You don't call him and say, you are not doing this, you are not doing that, right? So now, he needed to come in. His age is close to these players. Now, he needed to come in and level with them man to man, to say he needed to speak to the heart more, to remind them who Cote d'Ivoire is. This is a Cote d'Ivoire of Abo Kolo Toure, Abo Didier Drogba that won the Afcon in 2015. Now, he didn't even need to speak to tactics before winning their hearts and reminding them who they are, the elephants that are hosting. The nation is in up in arms right now, because they are banning cars and all of that, because they believe we can do this. He needed to tap into that first. Secondly, he was a great salesman in continuing the vision of the coach to say, this is how we